Sai Ram. It was the year 1975. A convoy of jeeps from the Indian National Army were headed through the hilly regions of Uttarakhand. Well, back then it wasn't called Uttarakhand. That is the name we give to that place in North India today. This convoy was being commandeered by Major General Kanti Atmaram Taylor or Major General K.A. Taylor. As the jeeps made their way through these treacherous hills, which were subject to multiple landslides and land cave-ins, a disaster struck. One of the jeeps slipped off the road and fell into the ravine below. Sadly, the driver of the jeep, a brave soldier, died on the spot. Major General Taylor decided that whatever be the case, the soldier must be rushed to a nearby hospital, and that's what they did. Even as they were heading towards the hospital, the Major General closed his eyes and began to say prayers. He had recently been introduced to a god in human form, Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. He decided that it was time now to test the power of this god. Closing his eyes, he prayed intensely that the life of this soldier driver must be spared. But then, as they reached the hospital, the driver was declared DOA, dead on arrival. For any leader in the army, losing one of his men is devastating. The grief-stricken Major General decided to head back home. Even as he reached his home, the phone was ringing. When he picked it up, he received the amazing news that that soldier driver who had fallen down the ravine and had been declared dead on arrival was now alive and doing very well. Now, if I tell you that this is the second best experience in the life of Major General K.A. Taylor, won't that leave you dumbfounded? What was the best and most amazing experience of his life with Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba? Needless to say, after that amazing miracle, Major General K.A. Taylor became a regular at Puttaparthi and Vrindavan wherever Swami was. He, along with his wife, received many interviews from Swami.
I was promoted to the rank of Major General in 1986. I went to Swami for his blessings and he called me in for interview. He put on my ranks here and he blessed me. He talked about something else, and towards the end of the interview, he told me that you are going to get a very big responsibility. And he said that he'll be always with me and I should not worry about at that time. The time passed, and whenever I used to get a very big military responsibility, I used to think perhaps this may be the responsibility that Swami was talking about.
Then, in 1989, he had an amazing dream. In the dream, Swami came and held him by his hand and led him to a spot in the hills. He pointed out to a winding path that went up the hills and then said that there was a meditation cave over there. With that, the dream ended. The Major General woke up from his sleep. He was very thrilled and very happy at this special dream, but he did not know which place on earth was Swami pointing out to him. He told his wife that Swami probably wanted him to meditate more in the hills, and that is what he began to do after that. He would be a regular visitor to the hills where he would sit and meditate for hours on the end. Once, when he was on duty in a place called Pithoragarh, a friend of his told him that he should visit the Devi temple, which was very famous. Major General Taylor decided that he would go and have darshan of the Devi. He went to the Devi temple, offered his prostrations, and then, as he was walking out of the temple, his eyes fell on the hills and mountains that were in front of him. Instantly it was deja vu. That was precisely the spot that Swami had stood along with him in the dream and pointed out to the hills. He knew the exact and precise location where he had to go. And when he made his way in the hills to that spot, he discovered a cave. A cave that went deep into the earth. It was not a horizontal surface, it was a vertical cave. He had to get down a treacherous slope. Today, that cave has become famous as Patal Bhuvaneshwar. The underground cave of Patal Bhuvaneshwar is believed to be as old as the earth itself. Rituparna from the Sathya Yuga is believed to be the first person who visited this cave, which was later even frequented by the Pandavas. It is said that in the 11th century, Adi Shankaracharya, the proponent of Advaita school of philosophy, also consecrated this cave. The cave is home to many natural formations of Lord Ganesha, the Ashtakamal or the 8-petaled lotus, Airavata, the elephant of Lord Indra, Lord Shiva, the Shivalinga. So many auspicious and holy gods and goddesses have found naturally in this underground cave temple complex. If we go through the South Asia cave registry, it is recorded that this cave was discovered by a gentleman of name Atkinson in 1884. After that, the next record is of Swami Pranavananda visiting this cave in 1942. After that, the cave was totally forgotten. The next entry in this registry reads as 1989 installation of electric illumination. This was done by Major General Kanti Atmaram Taylor from the guidance and instructions that he received from Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. The story now gets more interesting. Dr. Gopal Karnavar, a professor from the University of Kerala who was on a pilgrimage to the Himalayas, came to know of this Patal Bhuvaneshwar. When he did in-depth research into the Puranas and the scriptures, he found mention of this cave in the Skanda Purana. The Skanda Purana describes the actual location of this cave as the confluence of the Ram Ganga, the Gupta Ganga and the Sarayu, which holds true even to this day. The text also mentions the presence of an extensive forest of Devadaru trees, the Daruka Giri. This too holds absolutely true even to this day because the hill is filled with Devadaru trees or the Deodar trees.
In the Puran, it's mentioned that the rediscovery of this cave complex would be done by a person known as Valkal. And Valkal means one who wears an attire made of a bark of the tree, or it could be a soldier. So this has come true in 1989 when one army major general went into the cave and brought it to the notice of the people.
Now what got me excited so much about Patal Bhuvaneshwar is the fact that several Swami's devotees have been guided by Bhagawan himself to visit this holy spot. It is not easy to go in, and the localites there say that unless Lord Shiva wills, you will not be able to enter also this temple complex. One among Swami's foremost devotees who visited this Patal Bhuvaneshwar is Mr. Author Hillcoat, whom Swami used to fondly call as my lion.
Several experiences that I had. As you recall, the first night that we went down into the cave and were shown around and had everything explained to us, and then pujas were performed. pujas are not necessarily something I know a lot about, being a Westerner. However, when the main puja began, puja to Shiva, I had this urge come within me and actually began to chant, which confused me because in a language that I didn't understand. I had no idea of what it was that I was doing.
The most amazing thing is that while author Hillcoat had many experiences during his stay at Patal Bhuvaneshwar, he was often wondering whether this was a genuine spiritual experience or was this the playing of his mind. Guess what? He got a chance to confirm this from Swami himself.
Swami asked me if I'd speak to the students about some of my experiences. And so I took the opportunity to ask Swami if I should talk about Patal Bhuvaneshwar. And he said yes. And so I said, Swami, were the experiences I had there real experiences? And he said yes. I said, should I tell the students about that, Swami? And he said, yes, tell them. So I spoke about that on that particular day. But later still, I handed Swami a note asking him if the production of the video on Patal Bhuvaneshwar had his blessings, and if so, whether I should speak about my experiences on the video and about his confirmation of those experiences. And Swami said yes. So that was very good for me because everything was confirmed now. When these sort of experiences happen, one questions one's mind. So I just was very happy about that.
It is natural that anybody who visits this cave gets some sort of a special experience. Because as Swami revealed to Major General K.A. Taylor, this is a cave of the gods and goddesses. In the year 2014, I got an opportunity to visit this cave. Let me confess that I wasn't very eager or excited about going to this cave and witnessing Shiva or Parvati or Ganesha or anybody else there. Because for me, Bhagawan Sri Sathya Sai Baba is everything. But then, because of Swami's connection to this cave, I was eager to visit it. Dear brothers and sisters, I wasn't disappointed. To start off, even as we were driving and going towards this in our bus, we saw a beautiful cloud formation above the hill where Patal Bhuvaneshwar is located. What was the shape of this cloud? A peacock. The mount of Lord Skanda. Lord Skanda always rides a peacock, and Patal Bhuvaneshwar being mentioned in the Skanda Puran and this peacock cloud being seen, it was very thrilling. Even as we neared this place, there was just one shop selling some tea, biscuits and other necessity items. In that shop was a beautiful smiling picture of our beloved Swami. So charged by this, we all went and entered that Patal Bhuvaneshwar cave. Though at the entrance only one at a time we could go in, once we go below, there is enough space for about 200 to 300 people. For one of the first few times in my life, I sat down to meditate. Let me confess again that I don't know any meditation technique. I have not been trained in meditation. Yet, as I sat there closing my eyes, thinking of Swami and chanting the Sai Gayatri, of course in my mind, something beautiful happened. I could see Swami walking and coming towards me for darshan. Now, usually in my meditations, I am the director of the story. In the sense, I imagine Swami coming close to me, I imagine taking Pad Namaskar, I imagine holding his hand, try to make it as realistic as possible. In that cave in Patal Bhuvaneshwar, it was in autopilot mode. I wasn't doing any controlling. It was like sitting for a real darshan where I don't know what Swami will do next. I'm grateful to Swami because he came so close to me. And as he stood in front of me, I could see him. My eyes were closed, but my inner eyes could see him. He was right there, so vibrant and pulsating. At that very moment, there was a pat on my lap, and I opened my eyes. It was my wife Pooja who was sitting beside me. She told me, "Arvind, Swami is here." I smiled. I nodded and said, "Yes, Pooja, Swami is here." We both closed our eyes again and went back to this beautiful state of being with Swami. The whole experience lasted about 10 to 15 minutes. But then it's enough for a lifetime. So thrilling, so wonderful. Patal Bhuvaneshwar exists even to this day. Naturally, it has been existing since the Sathya Yuga. I just felt it would be wonderful to share about this space, which is part of the Satya Sai Bhagavatam, because it was Swami who enabled the rediscovery of this cave, which was otherwise forgotten. A cave which has been visited by the gods, a cave where you can experience gods. If any of you have been to this cave before, please do share your experiences in the comments below. For those who wish to go, in the description section of this video, I have shared the location and all the other details you need of Patal Bhuvaneshwar. Thank you. Jai Sai Ram.